It becomes the most uncool riff of all time when I sing it, doesn't it? Woo. How to ruin music in 3 easy steps.
1, 2, 3, go!
You can already hear our guest in the background there bubbling away. She is ready to go. Man, guys, how was everyone doing? I'm going to say a quick hello to you here. Hello! How is everybody doing out in wherever you are in the world? I love that we have people like kind of all over the place. I don't know if I see David. David's in there representing the Philippines. I don't know if we got some of our other international all-stars out there. Matt, are you out there? Did you stay awake in New Zealand to watch this? All right. Well, listen, guys. How's everybody been? How was your week? My week was good. I hope your week was good. I hope your week had some music in it. I'm trying to think what I did musically this week. Now that I have a banjo nail, I have been playing. I won't lie. I've been playing more banjo again, which is nice. I've missed that. And I actually have today, I'll just share this randomly, I have my first banjo student, as in I will be teaching banjo today, which may be worth just sharing the internal thought process here because. So this was a thing I actually had to sort of confront a little bit in my own insecurities of like somebody came to me and said, hey, would you mind teaching me banjo? And I thought like, I'm a student. I can't teach. I'm learning. I'm and then I sort of had this moment where I realized that number one, the best way to get better at something is by teaching it. That's kind of where our guest comes in today too. But also, if someone's coming to you, they value your knowledge and share that. And there's a value for you in sharing that with them. So anyway, all that being said, today I'm going to have an awkward hour where I very insecurely try and teach somebody else banjo. We'll see how that goes.
And both of you will drive your neighbors crazy.
That's right. Hey, I should bring in my guest because you're hearing her off to the side. I really should bring her on screen because I'm keeping her at bay, but I shouldn't. I'm so excited to have her with us here today. You may know her by her intro catchphrase. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Jelie. We have Jelie here today. Jelie, say hi to everyone out there on the internet.
What up, everybody? It's your girl, Jelie from Kickback, Couture, and today we are here with Reason Studios. And I don't know what else to say, but that's where we are.
I'm done. I'm going to go. Just leave Jelie with you. She's got it. She's got it from here. Oh, that was good. We got to get you to do some... that's something I haven't done yet is those like artist drops that people do where it's like, they do them on radio all the time where it's like...
Yeah.
Hey, we're the But I'm so glad to have you here. For people that don't know Jelie and are watching this, first of all, how could that be? How could you be watching this stream and not know Jelie? But Jelie is a musician, a producer, a YouTuber, a rapper. She is all these things, and I jealously wish that she were like only good at some of them, but she's good at every goddamn one of them. So let me show you, for example. If you guys haven't heard, do you mind if I can I play some of your music? Do you mind if I share people?
Go ahead.
All right. This is Jelie.
Trying to get a BIG, but missed me with the THC. I need faces, cause we got an EAT. I'm on a run, not a legal or a relay team. I take a toll on the hater, not a freeway thing. Plus I kick it like an expecting. Rap got a hold on me, not a three-way ring. I dumb it down, I ain't in a given leeway. We just want the cake, I ain't talking about a B-Day fling. I can tell.
That is what I'm talking about. We're talking about this. Listen to this.
Talk like God live inside of me. Think I'm off the leash, figure all of them telling me. Need to leave us be visions of them crucifying me. Do it for the people, I hope all of them ride with me. I walk like, talk like God live inside of me. Think I'm off the leash, figure all of them telling me. Need to leave us be visions of them crucifying me. Do it for the people, I hope all of them ride with me. Spending licks to trick.
Now then check this one out. This one, like if you aren't already in love with this, check this one out.
Really, it's silly, and I'm Molly and Mandy. Your bitches really be Billy. Tell the nigga he's sweet and that he could have been Willie. And the niggas get froggy, but they really miss Piggy. Focused, I'm focused, you know that I'm focused. I get it, I got it, you know that I'm focused. Your bitch heard about me, she know that I'm closest to no one, but she wanna give me your body. Focused, I'm focused, you know that I'm focused. I get it, I got it, you know that I'm focused. Your bitch heard about me, she know that I'm closest to no one, but she wanna give me your body.
Come on. All right.
I was about 14 when I wrote that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
14.
Yeah. And now you're a wise old age of, what are you, 20 or something now? 19?
I'm 23 now.
Are you 23? Oh.
Yeah, I just turned 23. My birthday was this past Friday.
I tried to do some math yesterday. I guess I don't remember our own release schedule. You were talking about when you got into Reason and stuff, and I was like, let's see. Reason 6? Yeah. So, yeah. So wait, you say you just turned 23?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And yes, people in the comments, they say, well, David says, dang, bars. That's right. Yeah. So
thank you, David.
So Jelie, let's chat for a second. I'm curious to know kind of what your point of entry was. Were you someone who wanted to rap and started making beats in order to sort of meet that need, or were you someone who was making beats and then needed a rapper and so you filled that need, or what was the chicken and what was the egg?
I definitely started rapping first. Before I could even speak, I thought I was rapping along with the lyrics to the song, and I really wasn't, because I was just babbling and couldn't pronounce the words right.
You were probably still better than I am.
Who knows? I don't think it was anything to brag about back then, but my parents were still very proud that I was trying to rap. Actually, when I was, I think, graduating or continuating from preschool into kindergarten, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And everybody else was saying, like, I want to be a princess, I want to be a fairy, and all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to say I wanted to be a rapper, but I don't want to, like, seem, like, out of place and stand out. So I just didn't say anything.
Oh!
And I told them I wanted to be a firefighter instead of a rapper.
That's right.
Because, yeah.
But what you meant was your beats would be fire, not...
I'd be fighting fire beats with my rhymes.
That's right. There you go. Oh man, but that's like, I mean, just on a micro level, that's kind of interesting. I think from, as kids growing up, I've talked to people who sort of study the sociology of like the signals we get as kids growing up that kind of push us in certain directions, and so there's the classic ones with like, like girls want to be princesses and boys want to be soldiers or whatever. Like they're like, kids get certain signals from their parents as to like what's the expected thing, and then they parrot those back a little bit. And it's kind of cool that you, even as a kid, were like, yeah, I'd almost rather say nothing than kind of like give them the bullshit line, So
Yeah.
That's cool though. But so when did you actually then make that transition to trying to actually put pen to paper, as it were?
Actually writing. I was always freestyling. So I had this little tape recorder, the ones with the mini tapes, like a handheld tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
I started with that. I would just freestyle into it, and I would record myself rapping. There was a video game on my PlayStation 3. It was called 50 Cent Bulletproof, and there was tons of instrumentals on it. So I would record myself with the little handheld tape recorder, freestyling to those beats. And I forgot what the website was called, but it's probably one of the first beat websites that existed. I would go on there and listen to beats and write to the beats. I just locked myself in the basement. Not literally, but I'd be down there and never come up, just writing to beats and just rapping. There was a site called My 16 Bars.
Yeah.
I would get on that site and put my text raps on there and have text rap battles. It was,
Really?
Yeah. The site doesn't exist anymore, but definitely I was down in that basement and never came up.
Wow. So on My 16 Bars, in terms of a rap battle, like, is it just that people have to be able to read your bars and kind of understand how the flow goes from that, or?
Yeah, exactly. So you have to be really good at your flow, and sometimes there's a beat with it. You got to keep it. You can be complex with it, but also being simple works. That's kind of where I learned how many syllables you can put in something. Because reading it, if you also write, reading the syllables and how someone said it, you can tell if there's too many. And it's also hard to comprehend if, for example, let's say I rapped with a flow like E40.
Okay.
His syllable count doesn't matter because he's E40 or Mystical or even DMX. They just wouldn't understand that. So those
Gotcha.
kind of flows are hard to comprehend when you're text battle rapping.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an adjustment. There was a request to crank your mic up a little bit, so we're going to do that on my end. Just so you know, though, when we do start using Reason, we might need to pull the master fader and Reason down to compensate for that. So
Fair enough.
give me a second, guys, here. I'm going to attempt this adjustment. Let's see how this goes. I'm incapable of multitasking. Which one? Oh, wait, I do it here. Aha. This is very riveting stream television I'm making for everybody right now. You're all welcome. Let's see. I'm going to turn this up here. All right. I just kicked her up 6 dB. Let's see how that goes, everybody. You let me know. So you started. Now, I was curious. I have heard from a lot of people. I'm going to sort of generationally date myself a little bit here. I'm from a previous generation when the PlayStation wasn't kind of the entry point for people into creative music, and I've heard from people I know. Even actually, Adam Fielding, our guest last week, got in on the tracker scene, which I think I'm correct in saying it was a little bit bigger over in the UK and in Europe, but that was the same idea of pulling off soundtracks from video games and then creating your own using the same sort of sound engine tools and stuff like that. And I know there's other. I mean, even my sister kind of got into. There was a PlayStation game. What was that one called? Was it Parappa the Rapper? This is like PlayStation 1, I think.
Yeah, I had every single one of those. I knew all the raps by heart.
Yeah.
And he was by far a terrible rapper. But when I was a kid, he was the best rapper on the planet.
That's right. The only one I remember was one that was like I want to say it was a guy who's like a kung fu cartoon character, and he had something like kick, slap. I don't remember how it went, but
I remember that.
that's the one that like I would hear. I'd be like downstairs, working on my own music, and then I'd hear her upstairs messing with that thing. So, but that's not an uncommon thing that the PlayStation becomes a kind of weirdly first instrument or first exposure to production for a lot of people, and I guess it's certainly true with you as well.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
What was it about? Let me see how I can word this. When people start making music, okay, let's see. I'm going to back up. Everybody listens to music, most people. Almost everybody listens to music as consumers, but a far fewer group of people transition over and say, I don't want to just consume it, I want to produce it. And so do you remember that moment that kind of led you to say, like, it's cool that I'm, the tunes I got on the PlayStation are cool and all, and I'm writing stuff, but I actually want to take that extra leap and make beats?
Okay, well, my dad was rapping, and he was also making beats, so I grew up seeing him do all of it, also engineering and mixing himself and all of those things. So it was always in my head that I could do it, and I wanted to, but the computer software wasn't there yet. So I was using his Boss Dr. 550
I remember
to
those.
just make terrible drum patterns because I didn't know how to make a drum pattern. And my first DAW was Magic's Music Maker.
Oh, okay.
It was terrible. And there were so many bugs in it that I couldn't actually complete a track. So I kind of shelved that until I got to high school, and one of my friends, his name is Ricardo, he brought me to his house because he was also rapping and he wanted to show me his beats, and he was using Reason. So he had this big stockpile of orchestral hip-hop beats from the Reason Orchestra Sound Factory, because I guess he didn't know what a refill was. I don't know. But nothing wrong with that. They were great beats.
Right.
But that is when I went home and I was like, I got to get that program. So I looked it up. I knew it was Reason 5, and I found it. and I downloaded it illegally. Not gonna lie, but I bought Reason 6 as soon as it released.
So we're giving you
like, I gotta
retroactive
get that.
amnesty. You are forgiven.
Thank you. I think I made up for it.
Yeah, right. No doubt, no doubt. But that's cool. Okay, and so then you kind of came in on Reason 6, but then by that point, I'm trying to remember my version history here, but pretty soon thereafter, that's when audio is now in Reason,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, audio was in 6, and then shortly after, the mixer was added in 6.5.
okay, and so then you're at that point you're kind of off to the races. You've got everything you need to make the full production rather than just kind of the start of the beat. There's a couple questions coming in. I'm going to ask. Let's see. Toby Yu asks, I guess a question that we made an assumption here. He's asking, what are bars? Please enlighten me.
Okay. So bars it's a fancy term for rap lyrics, but it usually includes a punchline. Kind of like a comedian per se, where he has this big lead up to the joke, but the punchline is what grabs your attention. That's what makes you laugh.
That is that's so interesting to me that you make that comparison, because there's a thing I just watched recently. Dave Chappelle doing the he got this Mark Twain prize, and the Netflix put up a thing where he got an award, and in that special he keeps referring to jokes as bars. He'll go like, oh yeah, there's this one guy and he's got these bars, and he's talking about a joke routine, like a setup and a punchline and all that, but he calls them bars. So it's interesting. And I thought, as a musician, I thought it's so cool that Dave Chappelle calls those bars, like it's music and kind of making that art connection. And here you are going the other direction in the same way. That's fascinating. So there you go. Sure. Toby, bars are it's they're stanzas of a rap, I guess. Is there a distinction between bars being pre-written versus freestyle, or would you just call them freestyle bars if they were?
It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Bars are bars, but freestyle is definitely a freestyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you're, who's that guy? Oh, I can't remember who it was now, but there's a guy who was on. Was it what's the mumble rap guy?
There's a lot of them.
I know that was the dumbest question. The guy with he's got the braids with the little beads in them. Arr. I'm referring to probably one hairstyle. I had one. Yeah, Lil Yachty. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for translating my complete ignorance there. But anyway, he got busted on. I think it was on Hot 97 for coming in to do Sway's thing. Sway's got that freestyle challenge, and he came in with clearly pre-written stuff, and then he kind of got, he got called out for it.
I think many of Sway's freestyle stuff involves written bars.
Oh, really?
But if he had it on paper or he was reading from his phone, then of course he might have had some issues. But I know J. Cole's done it, and he's for sure rapped some written verses that he had on previous mixtapes.
Gotcha.
Some people do come in there freestyle. Like if you look at Redman or Method Man, they go in there and it completely blow your mind. And
Really?
Eminem, I don't know if he's been on Sway recently, but if he was, he would definitely be freestyling because that's just what he does.
Yeah, right. So there's a thing. I read a study once that stuck with me, not because I ever hoped to be a freestyle rapper in my life, but it stuck with me because what they did is they took guys who I shouldn't say guys. They took people who freestyle rap. They put them in an MRI machine, like the brain scanners. They put them in the machine, they turned on the brain scanners, and they had them freestyle. And they looked at brain activity. And what they showed was that for the first, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but usually about the first 30 seconds, kind of the expected centers of the brain are lit up that one would expect to be related to cognitive word function and creativity and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But then there's this moment that happened for all of them where all of a sudden one area of the brain just turned off, the actual activity just dimmed down and shut off. And it's the part of the brain that deals with self-critique. And it forever changed the way I watch people that are truly sort of masters of freestyle. when you watch them, like there's that little moment, I've seen it all the time. They're kind of getting going. They're sort of finding their way. And then all of a sudden, like they shift into another gear and they just hit a lane. And it's like, oh, that's when they turned off that self-awareness, that self-critique, and just kind of let it go.
Yeah,
is that something you feel when you do it?
Yeah, if you overthink it, you'll slip up. So you got to stop thinking by thinking. So you know, you're thinking of the rhyming words, but you can't think of everything else that goes with it. You kind of just shut off and let your thoughts flow out. It's like writing a streamline on a piece of paper and not letting anything interrupt. You're just writing everything that comes to mind. That's what freestyling is like.
But
the moment that you... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The moment that you let something interrupt your flow, you might stumble or stop or you get hung up.
What I love about this is that there is I think there's a parallel that we can all take from this, all of us musicians and music makers, to sort of the reason that there's that self-critique, self-awareness part of the brain being active is because we want to be better. We're trying to be better and live up to our ideal, but it's actually sabotaging us. It's actually like, if we could turn that off, we actually get better than if we keep that on in a way. You know, it's like quality control is actually harming the quality.
Right. That is facts. That is very true.
But so are you saying, though, that you do come up, so like you'll think of the rhyming word and then you just can't think about how you're going to get to it. But you kind of know that in 8 beats or 12 beats, you got to be rhyming potato with
tomato.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes I could think of the rhyming word and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just keep the sentence going and I'll figure it out. Because if I think of the rhyming word, I might also stop. So
I mean,
not thinking is the best method. If you just continue your flow of speech, you'll be fine because you might not rhyme with the last word you rhymed with. You might just change it completely.
Right, I gotcha. Okay, so let me take a look at here. Some other questions here. Drew Magoo says, "Do you think using loops is cheating?" And he says, "I've made my stance on this question clear, but you'd like to know your perspective. So do you think using loops is cheating?"
I don't think using loops is cheating.
High five. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, considering hip-hop, which is what I make primarily, was based off of sampling. And we took loops of drum breaks.
Right.
I mean, it was DJs, of course.
Sure.
But that's where it all started. Those drum breaks were looped over and over, and then the rappers started rapping.
Right.
So, I mean, even if it's transformed to not being drums anymore, and now it's melodic, and someone makes it for someone else, it's not cheating. It's like collaboration. Or if you listen to a song, a record, and you really like this part, this riff in it, and you take it and you loop it, it's no different than when the DJ looped the drum break.
Right.
So I don't think it's cheating. I do think you should be honest about where you got your loop.
It's a good tip.
Credit where it's due if needed, but no, I don't think it's cheating.
Right. Well, I certainly agree. And so Drew, I think we're pretty aligned on that. I think it's pretty, I interact with a lot of Reason users, and there's a common thing that I notice among Reason users, or I should say among music makers, which is that as you're there's like a certain arc that happens where you're starting out making music in the very beginning, and you might be relying on loops because that's kind of the first thing, like, you kind of get access to, you know, like that's the Atom and the Tracker thing, or you with the PlayStation or whatever, like that's all loop based. And then you start to learn more and develop more, and you kind of cast aside that because it's like, well, that was what I was doing when I was just starting out. And suddenly you're in this weird space where you're overthinking the things that don't need to be overthought, you know?
Right.
If I'm in San Francisco, if I want to go to Oakland, they've built a road. It makes it really easy for me. I don't have to forge my own way by building a boat and then sailing across the bay to get there. Like, it's not cheating to take the Bay Bridge. And people
Your
will,
ancestors will be like, he's so lazy. Look at him driving, taking the bridge. Back in my day, we used to take the boat.
That's
We
right.
wouldn't do that nonsense.
That's right. It's true. But yeah, there is that mentality that people think like, oh, well, if I'm going to make a beat, the first thing I got to do is actually build the beat. And that's not wrong if that works for you, but it's also not wrong if it doesn't. And whatever gets you further along in the process, Drew, I think is the key there, because to some degree, I think the really cool stuff happens after it's like, what do you do with the loop? What top line do you put on the loop? What's the melody with the loop? What's the, so yeah, I think we're in there. Let's see. Other questions coming in hard and fast here. How long have you been using Reason? Gabriel wants to know. And any other DAWs before or after, I guess, or in addition to Reason is probably the question there.
Okay, been using Reason since 2012, 2011.
Okay.
And before that, it was the Magic Music Maker crap. And then after that, I learned Pro Tools because I went to the University of CU Denver, and that was the industry standard. So we had to learn how to navigate that. And then I learned Ableton Live, and that is where I am at.
Gotcha. So you're sort of, you kind of mess with all things, which isn't a bad way to be well-rounded, especially, to say nothing of music making, you're also a content creator. And so then that becomes another thing of sort of serving different audiences that want the live tutorials or the Pro Tools tutorials or whatever.
Right. Any given day, I'll use every DAW, every single one.
Gotcha.
And I get a lot of questions. Are you leaving Reason for live? And I'm like, no. Who said that? You should do a video on why you're leaving live. Why are you leaving Reason? Reason does this too, but why are you doing this in live? Can you do this in Reason? And I'm like, well, I myself learned how to make beats in Reason watching FL Studio tutorials.
Right.
Because there weren't enough Reason videos.
Right. And so is that sort of what led you then to start making your own? Is that like if these aren't out there, I'm going to make them?
Yeah. I seen a need that I felt needed to be fulfilled. And whenever I searched a video on how to make this, blah, 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 how to do this Reason tutorial, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. So I decided I would be that person to start putting them out there.
That's fantastic. Well, you showed up on our, I think Stefan was the first person that showed me one of your videos. And what was that? Maybe
they were terrible.
No, they were great. They were great. I mean,
when I first started, if I go watch my old video, whoa.
I mean, that just speaks really to how far you've come. But I mean, that was a thing early on. I mean, Stefan could even tell you that I literally saw that and I said like, ooh, she gets, it was simple things too. Like not to rag on other people that I've worked with in doing videos, but like you did simple things like you would zoom in a little bit to like the device you're talking about, which is like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people make a tutorial where they've got like a 52-inch 4K monitor and they've got Reason full screen and so it's like, okay, so here I'm gonna set this device. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I started adding those things, improving, step by step as I progress throughout my Reason YouTube career.
How do you balance your ambitions with music versus your YouTube channel and content? So that must be a tug of war a little bit of like, which one gets your focus? And
honestly, it's more like if I can make a video, I'll make a video. As for my personal music, I won't be happy if I'm not making it. So that kind of comes first, but it also kind of goes hand in hand because a lot of the music I work on in the tutorials, I can use as my own or send out to other artists.
That is
given that I don't break down the entire beat so that someone can copy it.
You'll have to do. You have to start adding those like audio jungle. You know those little watermarks they put on. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I went through a similar thing when I started making videos with For Reason. It was like the greatest creative spark just through necessity, where it's like, okay, I'm making this video. It needs a music bed. It's gonna be faster for me to make this than it is for me to try to explain to someone else what I'm looking for. And so I would just make it. Or tutorial. I just make the musical example I needed for the tutorial, and all of a sudden, my folders are filling up with song ideas. Where it's like, oh, geez, I would have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I have over 300 Reason files on my hard drive from just starting tutorials, and people are like, "Where can I hear the rest of that beat?" And sometimes I deleted it, so I'm like, "Well, it doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, I didn't always keep them, but I do now."
Right. Yeah, we've gotten similar things. Comments on our videos where they'll go, "What song is this?" And it's like it's exactly the 4 bars you heard and no more. Like it literally ends at that moment that you just heard.
That was it.
But I sort of take those to some degree as a nice, if you're getting them too, it's a nice I guess compliment if someone sort of hears what you're doing and doesn't think that it sounds like, oh, they clearly just threw this together as a whatever to illustrate their point. It's like you actually put some care into making it sound viable and real,
Yeah.
So, let me see. We'll look at a couple more things there, and then I kind of want to get down to some music making with you. Let's see. Any advice for producers from other genres that are starting to dive into hip hop? So yeah, someone who might work in some other genre. Is there a tip for kind of how to cross into the hip hop aesthetic?
I would say choose the right drum samples. If you go wrong with the drum samples, everything else is kind of off. And once you get the drum samples right, choose the right groove, get the feel right. I know a lot of people message me asking how do they do their trap hi-hats. And I've done tutorials on it, but if you don't get that right, then it just kind of doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. It might sound stiff. It might sound like mumbo jumbo with drums.
Right.
I just say get the drums right, and the sky's the limit. Hip hop takes from everything, so your melody could come from anywhere. But the drums got to be hip hop.
Right. And this sort of goes back a little bit to Drew's question about loops. If you're just starting out, or even if you're not, but if you're just starting out, that can be one of the biggest frustrations. I know this from when I've had to, if I'm on my own, I'm not producing a lot of hip hop, but I do if I need it for a music bed or for I'll make it if I need that vibe. But I'm not great at it. And so I come up against that frustration early on where it's like, okay, let me load a Kong drum machine and let me find some samples. Then I start flipping through samples, and it's like I become quickly aware that like this isn't quite banging. It's like it's not quite right. And that I know that can be a very sort of frustrating experience for someone if they're starting out and they don't know what do I do now, And Drew, that is where loops can come in because they've kind of packaged the samples together for you. You know what I mean? Even if, I'll just throw this tip out there for people, if you find a hip hop loop, like a Rex file, find a hip hop Rex file that you like the sounds, but you want to program your own beat, you can take each one of those slices, take the kick, take the snare, take the hi-hat, take the percussion sounds.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. And then you can make your own beat, right?
You can.
And it's like they've basically given that loop then, instead of being a loop of a programmed pattern, it becomes more sort of like a what do you call it? A kit. It's like here's a sample pack. And we've already determined that these sounds go together well. So you don't have to kind of be out there in the wilderness.
Yeah, when I first started in Reason, the Dr. Octorex loop player was my best friend. I was looking for loops in there consistently to either fill out the beat or to start a beat. So every single loop in there, I probably made a beat with it at some point. The da, 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 da. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. You might not.
Wait, but we're talking about, is that Tetris you're singing?
Nope, it's a Doctor.
Is it?
It's a Rex.
In the factory sound bank?
Yep, it's in there.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know that one.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The one that I know, like when I need to make sort of just some sort of quick and dirty kind of boom bap style thing. There's one of those. It's a Rex loop by Hank Shockley and the Bomb Squad, and it's like the third one in the list or something. It's like just that classic, sort of.
I've used all of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So let's see. Maybe we'll ask one more, and then we'll jump into some stuff here. Somebody asked, what are some rack extensions you can't live without?
Okay. Well, the rack extensions I can't live without. This ID8, it's the simplest thing ever. I do hate that there is no CV on the back sometimes. However, it has all the basic instruments I can imagine going to start an idea. Most times I end up keeping it. And whenever I want to add a piano part, I don't waste time going to look through other rack extensions or VSTs. I just drag in the ID8.
Really?
I use everything that's here.
July, repping the ID8. Man, I tell you, that thing does not get enough love from people. And I swear to God, it's a visual prejudice where it's like, it's a one U, it's a kind of short device. It's like, it's just blue. There's not like a lot of exciting parts to the graphics, and people overlook it. And yet, like, what they don't know, for example, I'm gonna make a guess here because I'll probably say the wrong patch, but the piano that is that grand piano is also it's one of the like main patches that's part of the NNXT grand piano. And there are people I know back before Radical Piano and stuff. There were people who were like, no, NNXT sounds way better than the ID8. And it's like, it's literally the same thing.
Yeah, I used to use that one before the ID8 existed also, but I have my Reason settings to load default patches, so it's quicker for me to grab the ID8, and it's the first patch there, so I don't have to go looking for it. But my favorite thing to do with it is pull up this mod wheel, and you get like that filtered sound. I just think that's so pretty, so I mess with that all the time, and it's perfect for hip hop and trap beats and all of those things, especially when you get up to the high frequencies, the high keys, I mean. Interesting. Yeah. And then my second favorite is Clang.
For real?
Just throwing that in there. Yeah.
What do you love in Clang?
The music box is my favorite. Trap Melody 101. Let's select the right device here. And there you go. You're off to the races.
Wow. People in the comments are, and now I'm gonna dare to admit this too, but I think people in the comments are surprised to know about the mod wheel trick on the ID8. I didn't know that because I tend to think of the mod wheel as like, why would I want my piano to go? So I've never touched it. Why would I touch the mod wheel on a piano? And so I think people are admitting they didn't know that, including Stefan, who's modding our comments there in the chat as well. Man. Music box in Clang, I'm with you there. When that thing came out, I was into that. In fact, I have in my closet a thing my brother gave me one year for Christmas, like a stocking stuffer for Christmas. And it was this little thing called Create Your Own Music Box. And it's basically a piano roll, like literally a piano roll of paper where you can like poke out a melody and then you wind it into this music box and you sort of turn it and it'll play like a music box. And I thought, what a cool thing. And then I never did it because that's a pain in the ass. And so I never actually like poked out the melody. Plus then there's also like sort of almost that tattoo mentality of like, what's the one thing I'm going to do with it? Yeah. So then when I heard this one, I was like, oh, perfect. I can get that sound without having to mess with
holes.
Yeah, without having to poke holes, totally. Cool. Well, I wonder if we should do a little music making here with people. Gabriel's asking for my mod wheel impression again. Gabriel, that was a one-off. You can play the stream back, sample it, make some crazy song with it. But anyway, so here's where things are at. So July was coming on here, and we thought maybe it would be fun to cover something that we haven't covered in the stream yet, which is sort of how someone might approach flipping samples. So you take a sample and like, how do you take the raw material of a sample or a loop and then develop it a little bit? And so in preparation for that, I was sort of thinking originally, I was like, oh, maybe we'll do that with like some of the songs people have submitted to us and we'll use those. But then last night I saw Adam Dorn put out an Instagram video with just like it was just a cool thing. And it's like a little raw. It's like, it's not perfect fidelity and but it's kind of got all the interestingness of a sample that can become something cooler. And so I thought, ooh, maybe that's cool. And then I recorded a little guitar loop as well. And I thought, oh, maybe between the two of these, we could kind of mess around with these. So what do you think, Jelie? You up for flipping some samples?
I'm up for it.
All right. Let me show people I'm going to show them the video that I saw on Instagram of Adam Dorn, and then maybe we'll play him the guitar loop as well. Do you have a preference for which one we start with?
We could start with the video.
Okay. So let me show you guys. I'm going to attempt to play this. July, I don't think you're going to hear this on your end, so you're just going to watch me staring at a screen for 50 seconds in silence. But,
No worries.
but I think everybody else is going to hear this. Let me show you this video of Adam. I don't know, something about it caught my fancy. So take a listen. Here we go. Now, I'm not going to lie. I listened to that on a loop, just in Instagram, the little looping window for like, I don't know, several minutes, because there's so much in there that I thought it's kind of just neat little moments, you know, and it's classic Adam in the way that he's giving you it's a visual audio experience, that little Instagram clip. But July, I'm going to hand it over to you, and maybe you can just kind of walk us through what you're thinking, your process is when you hear a sample and where you want to go with it and how. Yeah, take it away.
For sure. Okay. Well, I have the samples that you sent to me. Normally, I will get the samples that I want, and actually, they aren't in this folder yet. Let me grab them. I'll get the samples I want to use, and I'll just drag them into the sequencer. So we have these two here. So we could start with the guitar, because I like guitars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah, it is fast. Okay, so it actually sounds like it's already a perfect loop. So I can either drop my tempo and slow it down, or I could time stretch it. I might rather time stretch it and make it longer, because I like making my beats in double time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's hear. Dragging the right loop point over. Yeah, that's a perfect loop right there, so I don't have to do any chopping. After that, I'll figure out what key it's in. Now, figuring out the key, sometimes I might play along with it and try to do that. Otherwise, I have a cool plugin VST that I'll use. But
that'll tell you the key, or try to tell you the key.
Tell me the key. Yeah, because I don't have like pitch hearing yet, so I'm supposed to because they taught us these things in school. But it went right in one ear and out the other. So,
Did they actually tried to teach you sort of like an ear training sort of thing?
yes, we had ear training.
Wow.
I had to learn intervals. I had to learn note pitches. I had to learn chords, so I could be able to hear. And let's just say I passed the test, but I passed the test and that was it.
Gotcha.
B minor, D major, so we could go either way with that.
I think that thing is correct because I'm gonna grab my guitar for a second, but I think I'm playing
pretty accurate. Mixed in key.
Yeah, that's B minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is really accurate. If I don't use this, I'll use the Antares auto key plugin. That one is really good. I don't know if I can open it in Reason because it's VST3, but whenever I'm using anything, like if a singer or a rapper is going to sing and they want auto tune, I'll drop the Antares auto key on it and it's really accurate.
Gotcha.
And also have the full mixed in key app. Also, I could drop everything on there. It gives you the BPM and the key. Yeah. All right, so from there we could start with some drums. We could go straight into the melody. I want to add an 808, so let's add an 808. Let's find.
I like that. I don't know. I just like this sort of like, I'm in charge of this. I want to add an 808, so I'm going to add an 808. Damn it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who's going to stop me?
Well, I would read the comments for suggestions, but then I won't be looking at.
If I see something good, I'll mention it. But yeah, those sometimes you guys in the comments can lead us astray.
Definitely. All right, so I have an 808 in here already. It's the Zaytoven 808, if anyone is wondering. Very popular 808.
Zaytoven, hey?
Zaytoven. All right, so I pulled down the attack so that I can get that initial transient of the 808. The transient is that punch at the beginning. And I'm also going to bring up the release so that I don't have to hold the note when I play the 808. And then I'm going to come down to the key mode here and put it on retrig so it doesn't overlap when I play different notes. It'll just retrigger. From there, we can come down to the sequencer, or we could play the 808, of course. But I'll do it maybe this way. No, I might change my mind. Let's see. I'm going to turn the click on.
Brian caught, he says, July casually dropping a request for VST3 support.
Casually? We're begging.
I hear you.
So just trying to find the right notes. So sometimes it might not sound right at all. And if you can't hear these low frequencies on your phone or wherever you might be watching, a little trick you can use is play up in the higher notes and it'll sound clearer also what note you're playing in relative relation to the melody of the guitar or whatever.
So you mean you write it up high and then do you transpose it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So let's just grab a pen tool. One thing I love about Reason that isn't in Ableton Live is the pen tool. And I always instinctively press the wrong keys to zoom in. Every time.
I know. Let me tell you, as a guy who works in video editing and graphic design tools, all of these tools use the same thing. There's pencils and razors and move tools and all the not mute, but there's disable in video editing, and they all have different quick keys, and it drives my brain nuts switching between apps.
Yeah, so it's G and H in Reason, and then in Pro Tools I use R and T, and then Ableton Live is plus and minus.
Right.
So it's torture on my brain. Torture to my brain. All right, let's see what this sounds like. I could not hear that. Not really. Okay, let's go up higher. I might actually start with a piano. That would be smart. Let's do that.
Just okay, because you mean it's sort of hard to distinguish that between the guitar frequencies?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I want the people watching to also be able to hear.
Righto.
So. So I'll just find the keys that sound good, basically. And that sounds good. So
that's a nice, that last note choice there's such an interesting one. Wait.
Maybe we'll switch it up and see.
Yeah.
I just went to the clang and not the 808. All right. All right, let's drop this down a few octaves. All right, and we might change those, of course. But from here, I'll get the rhythm right. So these boxes could be confusing for getting the rhythm. But just mess with it long enough, you'll get it how you want it.
You mean in the box in terms of the way it's kind of gridded out for 16th notes, or
yeah, yeah, it could be kind of confusing,
Great,
and you have to move some things around until you get it right. But like how that was kind of off. So. So let's move this over. Maybe we'll start this later. Let's see. Might come back to this note somewhere. Let's go. I like how that sounds. So what I'm gonna do is duplicate this, and then so I hit Command D to duplicate it, grab the clip, made it shorter, and then I'm gonna select both of them by holding down Shift and hit Command J to join the clips so that they're one now. So for this one, it doesn't really mesh right, so I'll have to pick a different note. I might play the keys here and see what works. Okay. So I'm actually gonna loop this section so that I could do that. I just held down Option to move the left loop locator and Command on a Windows to move the right loop locator. And I'm just gonna loop that until I find what sounds good. And loop is on down here as well. You could also hit the L key. Let's check out that 808 momentarily.
So this is a really, I think, an interesting workflow tip that is worth mentioning for people that aren't grabbing how interesting this is. Jelie is making her melodies on a piano and then going back and forth to the 808. You know, this is like, this isn't something even I've done where I tend to think like, oh, I'm going to put an 808 on this, so I'll stay on the 808 and write the part. And sometimes maybe you'll go up that octave, but you'll still stay on that 808. But you're jumping back and forth to a very melodic instrument to write your melody, and then going to the sort of melodic rhythmic hybrid that is the 808, the sub hybrid.
Yeah, and I don't always do it this way, but if I was to just blow through it and do the 808 real quick, then everyone would be like, wait, how'd you do this? So I always make sure I come up with some sort of way to explain what I'm doing that's more intuitive.
That's right. Stefan says Jelie is in tutorial mode. Yeah, she totally is.
Yeah, Because if I don't, they're gonna ask the questions anyway.
That's right.
So.
And oh, believe me, there's some backseat drivers in the chat already telling you, but high pass this, saturate that.
Yeah, I'm going to high pass the guitar in a second.
There you go.
Believe
See, guys,
me, I will
she knows.
I'll do it. All right, let's see what we should put here. Alright, so we'll put a G there for that 808. Whoops. Don't double click too much. Whoops. There it is. Held down Option to drag. Alright, now I think I got a basic 808. I'll probably change it some more later, add some more bounce to it, some more notes in there. But let's take that guitar loop, and I don't know where it went in the rack, so we'll just double click here. And let's add that high pass that was suggested.
Yeah, exactly. Mark, you're getting your high pass, all right? You happy?
And let's go ahead and fix this loop point here. And what I also want to do is put some effects on this guitar. So I like to use Soundtoys Echo Boy. But I will say that the Echo and Reason is also really good. But I'm going to go for Soundtoys.
Yeah, cool.
Because the preset I want to use.
Oh, I haven't messed with... I see the Soundtoy stuff mentioned a lot, but I haven't messed too much with it myself.
It's so amazing. It's really fun. It's like the best toy box, one of the best toy boxes you'll ever open. To mess with anything, vocals, guitars, anything like that. Let's try this one, and we'll pull down the feedback so it's not too muddy. And this one sounds off now, so I'll probably change that 808. Yeah, so we'll just leave it like that for now. And you know, a lot of people in hip hop's favorite thing to do is to grab halftime, so why not? Let's see if it sounds good. That might be a suggestion.
Where would hip hop be without halftime and Serato sample?
Serato, that was the DJ thing. I know it wasn't the first one,
right?
But they definitely made their mark. Okay, it sounds nice, but it's off in some places. So this is at 100% mix. Let's bring this down and experiment with this. This changes the smoothing of how the sample is changed pitch-wise.
Oh, so more granular or less granular sounding?
So here, if you listen, you'll hear it swelling.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then here, it's more abrupt. You hear it?
Yeah.
So I might actually leave it pretty dry and just have it in as a more subtlety.
Interesting.
And then we could go on and add some drums. So I'll start with the hi-hats. Going too far here. My hi-hats in Umph and the drum sequencer specifically, before I do anything, I do want to mention that in my template, I have already pre-programmed some swing, so it's not going to sound directly on the grid. So what that looks like is here where this slide is, I've already slid these notes
Are you slide them
all the way
forward, or you slide them ahead of the beat or behind the beat?
It depends.
Okay.
I think these are ahead of the beat, but it depends on the DAW I'm using. I noticed that I swing forward or backward in live, and I swing forward in Reason.
Really?
But yeah, I don't know. It's just I guess it doesn't matter. It matters, of course, to the rhythm, but it doesn't matter to me in making the drums. But I'm gonna slide these to the left because I want to see what it sounds like now. I never really paid much attention to which direction I was sliding them in here, so I just slid them.
It's interesting, yeah. It's the there's that old maxim about daylight savings time: spring forward, fall back. It's like Reason forward,
yeah.
live back.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's how it goes.
Exactly. Everybody knows that saying.
Right. Reason forward, live back. You heard it here first.
That's right.
Let's listen to these hi-hats. Now we can add some rolls in here, of course.
Now, I realize we should explain to people that aren't familiar with drum sequencer and the slide function actually what this is about. So drum sequencer, that people may or may not know, it's a player device that is basically a multi-lane step sequencer. So it's like the same step sequencer that you'd get in Red Drum in terms of like having 16 steps to the beat. But it's got some cooler, more modern features. And one of those is the slide function where you can move instead of it being exactly on the beat, you can choose that your steps are triggering a little late or a little early, which someone might think is a problem, but it's actually a feature, right?
It is a feature.
What is the can you explain to people sort of what the feel difference is to that? Why do you want something to be not right on the beat?
Well, if it's right on the beat, it'll sound really on the grid. So it'll be computerized and it'll kind of be stiff. So for example, let me go ahead and change all of this back to where it would normally be. And then I'll play it for you. And let's hear. So that's pretty on the grid outside of any discrepancies with the hi-hat not starting right at
the sample itself,
point.
You mean, yeah.
Right, yeah, the sample itself. So if I add that back, let's Control Z 4 times, I think. One more. Now listen. It just adds some more groove to it so that you have a rhythm to latch onto. Not saying that you can't latch onto 4 to the floor, of course you can, but it adds a sway to it, a humanized sway, and it's especially dope for rappers to get on it because they add their own timing on top of that as well. And it's just natural. Like, if you know who Jay Dilla is, his timing is basically mimicked.
It's funny you say that because Mark
impeccable.
In the comments said Jay Dilla is famous for that. So there you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anybody, any hip hop producer who used a drum machine and didn't press that quantize button, or if there was a quantize percentage option, they have their own swing that they're known for.
Interesting. Okay, right.
Yeah.
This is a thing I know. Anyone out there who records their own audio, maybe it's bass lines, maybe it's banjo. What you'll notice when you do that and you zoom into the waveform is that you tend to be, when you play a human line, you tend to have your own kind of global slide, really. Like when I play lines, I'm a little ahead of the beat from where it actually would start. And it took me a little while to give myself permission to go, oh, I'm not screwing up. That's how I actually was feeling it in that moment. And so it's cool that the device tools, the actual technology tools, are letting people, or helping people, I should say, kind of engineer that same human shift into the production.
Yeah, definitely.
That was not something the old Boss. What was the thing you had? The Boss.
Dr. 550.
Yeah, that didn't have that function.
No, so my beat sounded like. It was really bad. It probably didn't sound that formalized, but I'm generalizing. All right, let's add a snare to this, or I have a clap here. Let's add this in on the ninth square. That's where we're putting it. Could also be the second or third beat depending on how you count measures. Gonna take the hi-hat off of where the clap is hitting, and then we can start to add some hi-hat rolls. I took the hi-hat off of where the clap is hitting just because it adds a little bit more rhythm and bounce to it.
That's interesting. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, so if we listen to it and then listen to it without it, it's subtle.
It's subtle, but it's almost like, I mean, it's the same concept as side chaining in a way. Like, I mean, it's not side chaining, but it's like you're sonically dropping out the hi-hat for that other transient, and so it has a similar, the bounce is a perfect word for it.
Yeah. Let's go through. Let's see, what did that sound like? I literally put rolls in random places when I'm using the drum sequencer, so there's not much thought into it, to be honest. I just listen to it, and if it sounds good, then it sounds good. Now, hip-hop or trap music generally these days has a second snare in it, and it usually hits in the same places. Might sound like this, might sound a little different, but I'm gonna place this in a few places. This is on the third slot, so let's see where we want to put it. We'll leave it like that. And I have a hi-hat, open hi-hat here. Now, all these drum sounds I'm using have been passed around so many times in hip-hop. You could probably find them anywhere. Most notably, I can say they are all definitely on Splice. They won't have these same names, but if you go to like the Lex Luger kit or the Southside kit or Murda Beats, you'll find all of these sounds and more. So if you're interested in these drum samples, they're all available. And some of these are even available in the Reason Factory. You'll have to do a little digging for what the name is, but they are all based on that original TR-808 drum machine. Pretty much every trap drum comes from that, and it's some kind of regenerated version of it with effects on it, or a transient shaper or a compressor.
Right.
Everything comes from there. So let's add this open hi-hat. Maybe we'll put it here. Turn it down a little bit. Next we have a kick.
I gotta say, those little extra claps you put in really give it that classic sort of the skip feeling. It's really neat to see where exactly they go, you know? Yeah.
Usually if you're looking at it like this, it'll go in like the third square. Since I make my beats in double time, then it's easier for you to get into those pockets with the snare rolls. That's why trap is primarily made in double time, because it's easier to get those drum patterns exactly how you want without having to make the grid too small. And of course, with the drum sequencer, we can't necessarily change the grid without changing the tempo.
Right, okay.
Let's add a kick. So let's see what happens if we put one here. So sometimes you might go for putting the kick exactly where the 808 is, which is fine. But if you kind of sparse it out And you can layer the kick with the 808 and also put some kicks where the 808 isn't. You could get a really cool bounce with that way too. So maybe so with that, we got a nice drum beat going, and we can always add to it later if we want to.
Just, I'm gonna pass on the nice words to you here. DJ Divix in the comments here. I guess he just tuned in and said he's glad you're on the feed, and you're one of his reason inspirations. So,
thank you. I'm glad that I could be your inspiration. Y'all are my inspiration.
Cool. And so I should maybe ask here, the drum sequencer, you have is it set up in the sequencer to automatically just be switching from pattern 1 to 2 to 3 to 4?
Why, yes, it is, of course. So let's look at that. So pattern modes, which are something that is exclusive to Reason, at least this type of pattern mode. Let me press the right button to zoom in here. So I have 2 different drum sequencers for if I want to do another drum pattern with different drums, like a turnaround or a breakdown or just a complete switch up. But the one we're looking at, I believe, is going to be coming from, which one was it? Club, which is right here. So it's changing from 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have a switch up over here, 5, 6, 7, 8. And for some reason, if I want to do a turnaround here on 4, at the end here, I can change this to 5 and come in and put in a different pattern here. So I might take what's on 4 and copy it and add a subtle difference. Did I do that right? Copy, paste, and let's say I add another kick here. Now it'll change up and do something different when it hits this because I have a different pattern here. So let's hear it. Now we see it alternated to pattern 5 that time.
Yeah.
Instead of going back to 4, and we'll turn those.
There's something I kind of an interesting. I mean, it's all I always consider myself so lucky that I get to talk to so many musicians and watch them work. But something I'm taking from watching you just there on that turnaround, the temptation on turnarounds is to be like, oh, it's a turnaround, so I got to make this really like a fill almost. So it's like like a whole snare clap.
We could do that
thing, but you added just one note, and it was incredibly effective. It just lets the ear know it's doing what a turnaround is supposed to do, which is just let you know it's about to turn around, and you don't need to do that with a big air horn, here comes the turnaround. Like,
in hip hop is really repetitive. So, I mean, you could do a crazy turnaround like that. Those things are always welcome. You got Just Blaze, who his entire, sound is based off of the rise and the drop, which is beautiful. But there's also beauty and simplicity. So just that simple change, because in hip hop, you really only need to change every 4 to 8 bars. So it could be something simple like that. And a rapper could just start freestyling.
Right. Cool. There's I'm going to join for a second here. It's off of our topic, but there's a conversation going on in the comments that I want to make sure I don't fail to mention. Mowgli says, I want to do a live stream with someone else starting a song, send it to each other, add to it, send it back. And that is a topic, perhaps the Peanut Gallery can let me know in the comments. That's something I've thought about doing on a live stream of collaboration with you guys, where maybe someone in the audience sends a thing and then I'll do something with it and then send it back, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I can spin multiple plates and then you're doing something with it while I'm doing something with another person's thing, and then I don't know, we'll see. It's a format I've considered, and let me know in the comments if that's something that you guys would be into doing, because what it requires of you is to send and create the starter ideas. So if you're into the concept of that, let me know, and I guess we'll do an episode where maybe we do that. Maybe we'll do it next week. I have no agenda. I'm winging this. But anyway, let's jump back here for you, July. So this is sounding pretty good. And this is already like off and on its way with a vibe.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice track we got here.
That's right. It's our first collab.
Yeah.
Should we mess with the with Adam's thing and see what, because that one's probably I'm guessing maybe a little more about chopping the initial starting point, right?
For sure, we could do that. I see a comment. What are my top 3 reason update requests?
All right, I'm bracing myself. All right.
That's hard, guys. You can't put me on the spot like that. Of course, we all want VST 3. And I think also making the sequencer a bit easier to work with and see. You could zoom in so much. So if we just be able to zoom in more, that would be great. I'm not thinking of good updates right now, so I'm just gonna stop talking because you put me on the spot. But yeah, VST3. It would be cool if we could do some more stuff with this mixer that didn't involve showing the rec, just in terms of speed. Like if I want to sidechain something, maybe I just click on the track right here, right click it, sidechain to, boop, and it's done. That would be cool.
All right, you're hired. We're going to pass your resume off to the folks in Stockholm.
Hey, I have it. Let me know where to send it. Okay, but the bass here, let's solo it, not the guitar. I remember this. Let me disable the stretch here. Let's play it. So
I can tell you, I can give you the secret. Well, I don't know. Do you want me to tell you what the original tempo was?
You don't have to. Okay. That's what sampling is for.
All right.
What I would actually do with this is similar to what I did with the guitar. I would figure out what key it's in.
Okay.
I really like this break at the beginning. I'm tempted to just cut that out and put that in what we already have built.
Oh, really?
But yeah.
You mean in with the guitar?
Yeah.
Oh.
As like a texture, so I could show that.
Yeah, show. I wasn't even ever thinking of these as companions, but you've intrigued me.
So now I can actually do some chopping. Just put this. So I double clicked on it and it's in slice edit mode. Sometimes it might default to pitch edit, which is kind of annoying. So just click up here and go to slice, and I'll just count the bars as it goes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4. So I might take the first 2 bars. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. So our downbeat is going to be in this area, and I'll zoom in to make sure. We could grab that speaker tool up here to see what transient is which. That's definitely where we're going to cut. So I'll right click on this slice, split at slices, and then I can get rid of that. Of course, it's not permanent. We can always bring it back just by dragging back out.
Right.
But gonna time stretch this. So now it is. So it's 4 bars long now, and there's some cool stuff we could do with this. You could leave it like this and put some effects on it and all those things. I like to actually put it in slice edit mode again and right click, and I'll actually bounce this out to a Rex file, Rex loop.
Okay.
And then I'll drag this Rex loop into the rec. And I will mute this by pressing M after clicking on it. And then we could do some cool things here. So we could pitch it up, and it might sound terrible, but it's always an option. Kind of use it as percussion.
Interesting, yeah.
Mess with this filter here. I always have a weird sound in my beats, by the way. It's Reason's fault. So I can reverse all of these. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Click on the slice edit mode here and just basically go through and mangle the loop that we took the 2 bars. So here we have pitch, we got pan, level, decay, reverse, which we could put on everything and see what it sounds like. So we might not even use this throughout the whole beat. We could just use it as a transition sound or something.
I'm still sort of dwelling on this thing where you said I always have a weird sound in my beats, and I'm realizing how much that is. Whenever I talk to you guys as artists, I always think about the people watching and people that might be trying to kind of take notes and get tips and insights, and that's a kind of cool one because it requires a little bit of a leap of faith to make something that sounds weird, because objectively, on its own, in isolation, it's not a cool sound, but as a texture or as a supporting sound to the beat as a whole, suddenly it is something, it lifts the whole beat in a cool way. So
yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to stand out. People probably won't even notice it until you point it out. Like, oh, I did hear that sound. That's cool. And when you take it out, it's like, what happened to the thing?
I have one of those, talking about something you've never noticed before. I won't be able to play this because of copyright reasons, but there's a Michael Jackson song. Which song is it? Oh, wait. It's on Thriller. I want to say, what's the one? No, it's not that one. Anyway, there's a song on Thriller. If anybody wants to spend 45 minutes, they can search this out. But towards the end of the song, he starts doing this improvisation where he goes, "You are a vegetable." It's like this really weird whiny voice that once you hear it, you're like, how did that make it through the process from like idea to being recorded to being like in the mix? Like, it's super weird sounding. And yet for 30 years, it never like flagged. It just sort of was like, yeah, that's just part of the texture, you know? So anyway.
Yeah. I wonder if that was like his reference for what he was going to do and they just forgot to take it out.
Right. I mean, that is true, right? Sometimes those placeholders end up becoming kind of crucial to the actual sound. You go to take them away or change them or fix them, improve them or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, shit, that's kind of that is like the cool, that thing that I thought was temporary.
Teen Spirit came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a placeholder. They never finished the lyrics.
Really? There you go.
It means nothing. Literally.
Well, again, there's like lessons. All these things are micro lessons I think we can all apply to our own music making, to not be so precious about perfection that we overlook the benefit of a temporary placeholder idea. So yeah, cool, definitely. All right, you keep working that. I'm going to figure out this Michael Jackson song so I can let people know which one it is. But you.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm gonna Google.
So I pulled in an echo, and I'm just gonna add some delay to this. Specifically, I want to add some grain delay. So I'm gonna mess with the settings a bit here so that we could get that to actually be grain delay. Now, the ping pong on here, I'm gonna turn it on, and the pan is all the way to the left. So I'm gonna bring it up to the middle. And we can hold down shift for finer values. And let's solo this so we can see how it sounds. And we'll turn sync on. And let's turn the feedback up. And we have other things we could do to shape it. So we can add a filter Some color. And let's hear it in context. See how weird it sounds. So honestly, it could really blend in nice if we add some reverb to that clap, and it's like a background percussion loop kinda.
Right.
So we could do that in my automatic instinct was to go to the mixer, but we could do that here. Forgot to turn the loop back on. So yeah, something really cool you could put in as a transition. You could bring it in. You might drop a few things. You might bring it back in. But all of my beats have a weird sound in it. It might be like, what is that to some people? But it really adds a different dimension. And it's how we kind of get our sound.
Yeah, you know, I hope people are taking note of the way that you are bouncing back and forth. For people that don't do this, I mean, if you're someone who makes a beat by thinking very linearly in the way that it's like, okay, I'm going to create the drums. Now the drums are done. Now I'm going to create the bass line. Now the bass line is done. Like, you're jumping back and forth. You didn't go to add the reverb on the snare until you had, you know, you'd selected your sounds, you'd done your pattern, you'd chopped up the next beat, you've done effects on that sample. Chopped up the next sample. You've done effects on the sample, and then you're going back. It's like this ping-ponging back and forth between the instruments so that it's, you know, it's like the time lapse of a city being built. It doesn't just go like this building, then that building. It's sort of like things are kind of, that's a terrible, terrible metaphor. But
that's how a producer's mind moves a lot of times.
Yeah, back and forth, little adjustments to everything as you go. The chat, someone had it right in the chat. I looked it up. It's Wanna Be Starting Something. Anyone who's curious, go listen to the end improvs on Wanna Be Starting Something, and you'll hear the weirdest improv you cannot unhear once you hear it. But yeah. Well, this is really cool. This is kind of a neat. It's funny, you honed in on a part of Adam's sample that I wasn't. That was almost like just pre-roll, where it's like, oh, he hasn't started playing yet. So
yeah. But
that's the part you jumped in on, is like just the drums that were keeping time for him, and then built off that. That's interesting to see.
Yeah, I love. They always say, I don't know who they is, so I can't quote, you know. But they always say when you're listening to a sample, listen to the whole sample all the way through. You might not always want to go for the beginning, because everybody might go for the beginning because that's the first thing they hear. But also, if the beginning isn't the main attraction, you can sample anything. So the point is to just listen all the way through, because there could be a gem 3 minutes and 43 seconds into the song and it's 8 minutes long.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
It's almost as an exercise in music making, it would almost be a thing that I probably want to try now, which is, if I'm going to flip a sample and work with a sample, what is my first instinct? Now I'm going to throw that away. What is my second? What's the thing that I specifically didn't gravitate towards, and how is that going to change my music making, you know?
Right.
I know there's Neil Young, singer-songwriter, has a thing that he does where when he writes a song, after he's written the lyrics, he looks for the lyric that he's most proud of in the song, and then he throws that out, because he's like, if I'm proud of it, it means it's just a little too clever, or it's a little too, like, it's calling attention to itself in some way that it stands out, and I don't want it to. So he actually, it's like the kill your darlings thing. It's just like, okay, that one's out. And in a way, so that's what I'm sort of realizing, that I probably unconsciously do that with samples, where it's like, oh, of course I'm going to sample the part where, you know, Adam does that little slapper on, of course, because that's what the whole sample's about. It's like, no, it's not. There's other stuff there.
Yeah, I've definitely done that with my own rap lyrics. Like, I'll have a punchline, and I don't want people to think too deep about it, so I'll just take it out. They might be like, what is she saying? So I'll just take it out, and I'll keep it for myself.
Right.
Shout out to Seth Nitty, by the way. I see the comment.
To who's that?
Seth Nitty.
Oh, Seth Nitty. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so you must know some of these names in the comments as people that come on your channel as well, right?
I know a lot of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad everybody's the Reason community, I so enjoy the good parts of it. But there is a real sort of community of people that follow, people like you, people who sort of know me just through my sort of official channel status. But I always love when I see people popping up elsewhere, and kind of representing the Reason community, but also supporting the independent voices out there, because you guys do fantastic stuff, and far more than, I'm something of a bottleneck within the Reason YouTube channel, where it's like, okay, I gotta make more stuff. But then we got people like you that are putting stuff out, and it's fantastic, and and you have an expertise that I can't bring to this. So it's really cool to see the way you work with this stuff, for sure.
Well, thank you. I will be probably the millionth to say, if you all are ever looking to expand, you know where to find us.
That's right. Yeah, well, you've got my vote, that's for sure. So I think, guys, this is probably, we've kind of hit a good place to go. Like, we're in a good spot here. So maybe we'll wrap it up for today here. I want to give my total thanks to Jelie for joining us today. She is, you're just as fun in person as you are in your videos, which is nice.
Thank you. I do want to say, if anybody has any questions that we didn't get to, feel free to message me, and I'll get to you as fast as I can. I have some time to answer questions, so the chat might close after we end this video.
It will, yeah.
I got you. And I've seen the reads on sound design question. You can hit me up as well.
Oh, so wait, where's the best way to get you?
Instagram is good. At Jelie, Jelie 303. If you don't have Instagram, there is a contact page on my website also. Kickbackcouture.com. I have to spell that now. CIKCBACKCOUTURE.com. Or Jelie303.com.
Right.
Whatever one you want to type in, it's all good.
And we got it now for people that are orally spelling challenged. We have a Kickback Couture on the screen as well, so they can reference the spelling under your name. So
cool.
Well, cool. Yeah. So absolutely. Let's all keep the conversation going. I do hope you follow Jelie, hit her up with questions or whatever else you want to send her way. I know that she does love the conversation as much on her end as we enjoyed on our end. So, and I was going to say, if anyone's into it, I can let me know in the chat. I guess I'm going to assume the answer is yes, but these samples, these two samples, Guitar and Adam's bass, we can put up a link somewhere. Again, this is where I sort of look virtually towards Stefan and go, I guess we can tweet out. Can we bleep blurp a link somehow to give people access to these samples? Because we'll pass them out to you guys. They are already actually Reason tempo matched. If you want to just drop them in, they're going to just be the right tempo. So you guys can go to town with them if you want. And hey, Jelie, could you set up a loop and maybe we'll play out with the track as you've got it going so far?
Yeah, sure thing.
Cool.
Let me just play it.
Beautiful. Okay. And from there, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I want to thank again Jelie so much for her time, for her expertise, and everything she does for the Reason community. I really appreciate it, and we all do. And I'm sure I'm speaking for you guys as well. So guys, we did it. We did it again. Somehow we managed to spend some time together and make it work. And the entire infrastructure of the internet did not come crashing down. And so I think, you know what that means? I guess we're going to do it again next week. I think that's what's going to happen. I didn't see what happened in the comments. I'll ask Stefan if you guys want to do that collab thing next week. Maybe we will. We'll find out. But we will be back regardless next week with something, some form of intrigue and inspiration. I guess that's our theme. That's our only guiding principle. So we'll see you guys next week. And go follow Jelie. Go follow Jelie. Go listen to Wanna Be Starting Something, and then grab these samples and let's make some music this week with them. All right, guys. See you later.
Later.